I love this thing.
Hey everybody, Rob Orgel, your favorite silencer nut job, and I know you've all been waiting for it. Finally, it's time to begin some 300 Blackout content. Now, I've lined up a handful of suppressors in front of me as to discuss which ones I think are going to suppress well in 300 Blackout Subsonic. Now, I know there are some more 30 caliber suppressors on the way, so this is kind of just phase one of the 300 Blackout content. Now, for today's video, I have three different hosts. Host number one is a SIG Rattler. Now, this has the 7-inch barrel, which stops right about here, and then it's got the fat rail system that allows me to recess a suppressor inside of it. So I'm going to run a first experiment to answer first on a super short barrel, which 300 Blackout suppressor is the most ideal. Then, after I come to a destination of which suppressors really don't sound good, which sound pretty good, and which is like the one that's going to live on this gun, it'll answer that first question. For super short barrels, what is the best 300 Blackout suppressor? After that, I want to answer yet another question. Next, I have two 300 Blackout 9-inch barrels. Now I'm going to put these two head to head with some of the more preferred suppressors from today. So what that means is I'll use the 300 Blackout, make a pile of silencers that I think are like good, and make a pile of silencers that are, they just don't sound great. And then when I have my collection of good suppressors, I will pick the one that I feel does the best on a super short 300 Blackout, so that for my own edification, I can pair with my 300 Blackout Rattler. Then of my favorites, I'm going to go head to head, side by side, and compare the two 9-inch guns to figure out which one is the most superior of the current collection of suppressors that I have. We'll find out which one of these perform the best. Guys, if you haven't already, consider like, comment, subscribe. It really does go a long way. I love running these experiments, asking and answering questions, and sharing those results with you. In order to keep this going, hitting those comment buttons, throwing something in the comments like, oh, I don't know, which suppressor do you think did the best? All of that really does help the algorithm, so I really appreciate your guys' support. The Stealth Additive Works 30 caliber suppressor on it. I wanted this to kind of serve as a baseline. Now, I know historically that the Omega 300 has been my baseline, but so far I have found this to be a very impressive suppressor on 300 Blackout. So without wasting any time, let's dive right into it. Ammunition today, we're using Magtech 200 grain Subsonic. We'll be using that consistently throughout the entire video. As well, we'll be using the Lancer 300 Blackout magazines. Here we go. Second round was a little bit quieter than first round, and I mean, overall, that did not offend my ears at all. And it really, soft shooting, no offense to the ears, really a great suppressor for a super compact 300 Blackout so far. Let's compare another one. Oddly, that was just a little bit louder than the Stealth Additive. I love the suppressor on 223 and on 308. It is definitely a performer, and 300 Blackout is just a little bit noisier than the Stealth Additive Works for whatever reason. That was louder, but deeper. That's up there with the Stealth Additive Works, which is weird because this suppressor, I have found it to be a good balance of everything, but sound-wise, it's like, it's not great. On 300 Blackout, this is a performer. That sounded good, but that kicked so much gas in my face, I felt it right here. It was not good on gas back pressure. Again, gas to the face. I'm on the negative setting, but it kicked gas in my face. It sounded okay. I'm not going to use it again. Sound-wise, incredible. That was deep sounding. That was extremely pleasant. Still kicked gas in the face. So sound-wise, this one might be one of the champs. That has been one of the best sounding suppressors so far. Now, historically, this silencer doesn't sound very good on 308. In fact, I complain that the Nomad and Nomad L are better performers than this suppressor when it comes to 308 223, but that sounded incredibly good. Gas back pressure wise, it was kind of medium, so it didn't kick a ton of crap in my face. It was just sort of okay, but that might have sounded the best so far. I'm not doing a second round, that hurt. Okay, new favorite. That was like dull, deep, and quiet. That was like the best of everything so far, and low back pressure. That is my current favorite. Oh, wow. The Cat ODB cycled the first round. Once it ate up the gases in the suppressor, it did not cycle the second round. I wonder if we're going to have issues on this going forward. I might have to turn the gas setting up for that suppressor. Not doing a second round. That was too loud. That wasn't bad. That first round was a little bit spicy, but the second round was much better. Overall, that was a good suppressor too, but it doesn't compete with some of the better ones that we've tested so far. Otter Creek Lab Infinity, this is the 30 caliber vented cap. And yes, once the new titanium comes my way with the additional stack, I'll be testing that one. I would bet you that will perform better than this one, but I have it, so I figured I'd include it. That was stupid good. That was I was thinking this was going to do okay, especially with the vented cap. That was up there with the Cat ODB. That was really deep, really quiet. I am super impressed by the silencer. Didn't cycle on the Infinity. They're so low back pressure. Wow. A little bit loud, but very deep. No cycle. Yet again, these low back pressures are kicking butt. This is the first low back pressure that didn't cycle the first round, because those gases that get eaten up on the first one sometimes give a little extra gas back pressure, so they're able to cycle round 1 and not round 2. So the next suppressor I go click, not bang, realizing that the previous suppressor had lower back pressure on shot 2. This is the first one that's done no cycle on shot 1. So let me turn the gas setting up for this guy. A little bit loud, but a very deep sound to it, and it did cycle with the gas in the plus setting. Again, Huxwrx wins with their low back pressure, but on sound, it's a good balance of sound, but it's really a solid performer in the low back pressure aspect. So if I was gonna do a course all day long, I would run this suppressor just because the back pressure is so low. But if I want maximum sound reduction, while this one did good, there are better. I'll bet you this one's not gonna sound very good, and it should have just a little bit more back pressure than the Range 36, just because it needs to cycle a pistol. I got sort of last round hold open, not quite, which is an indication that this is also very low back pressure. I am in the plus setting again, but it was loud enough my left ear's actually ringing, so I'm not gonna repeat that. Sounded good, gas to the face, not great on back pressure. That was too loud. Not doing that again. Deep sound to it, a little bit loud, kick gas in the face. Only okay on 300 Blackout. Definitely kicked a ton of gas in the face and it sounded okay. Sounded pretty good. Slapped me in the face with gas as we expected with a bolt action style suppressor. Sounded okay, but too much gas back pressure. That sounds really very good. It's low in back pressure. That too is one of the top contenders. Very, very good overall performance. So it sounded louder, but it had a deep pitch to it. So I would say this too is one of the top contenders. Okay, definitely the Wisper Pickle wins on that one. I'm gonna remove the off-grid from the experiment. So that Velos has a very deep sound to it, but the XCI, LT, whatever it is, it definitely won on this one. So I'm gonna pull the Velos out. Wow, they were evenly paired. Both of them were deep and quiet. I'll do another one. They're equals. You know what? The SIG is, I believe, obsolete now that they've released their new line of suppressors, so I'll pull it going forward. I will say that by comparison to everything else so far, those were both a little bit on the loud side, so I'm actually going to pull both of them. So I gotta say that 9mm was deep, a little bit loud, but deep, like very, very, very pleasant. But that JL kicked its butt. Ooh, the Cat ODB won just by a little bit. They both sounded really very good. But there's a little bit of first round pop on the Infinity. Now, fair disclaimer, that's the vented cap. I hear if you put the fixed cap on there, it'll do a whole bunch better. I'm waiting to get the titanium where I can put that extra stack on the end and put the other variables on it. So versatility wise, the Infinity might do better, but out of the box non-versatility wise, that ODB really won. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull the Infinity. Quick side note, I know I kept this guy around. I'm not gonna run it for more sound experiments. This is more just a very, very low back pressure 300 Blackout. That sounds pretty good, but it's not going to compete with the winner circle. Yeah, these two are really very close. This guy's lower back pressure and deeper and quieter. So, I mean, it's close, but definitely this guy's the king so far. Both sounded really, really, really very good, but the Cat took the cake on this one. Cat JL. Cat JL by a little bit, but also lower back pressure. So, JL. Guys, we're going cat to cat at the end. I can't tell. I can't tell. Let me work the Infinity back in just to give it a fair shake. So the Infinity is louder, but it is deeper. So while it's got that deep pitch to it, it does sound good, but the ODB takes it in this one. So of the two winners, they're both meow meow suppressors. So the JL and the ODB, both of which performed incredibly well, and I really can't tell you which one was the better of the two. If you make me pick, I'm gonna pick the ODB because it's a little bit shorter, it's a little bit lower back pressure. This is Inconel, not titanium, and I do look forward to having the titanium one. This is titanium, not Inconel, so there's a metalloid difference if you want to argue that point, but both of which sounded really, really, really very good, and I would say that they too are definitely the winners of this video. Now, some honorable mentions here. The Otter Creek Lab Infinity, while it wasn't as quiet, it had a deep pitch to it. So I would say it too is also really very good. All three of these are in fact low back pressure suppressors. The Infinity and the ODB are the lower of the two. The JL is kind of more a little bit higher in back pressure, but not a ton. So you could argue over really all three of them being the victors in this video. You know, if you want to argue over price, and otherwise, again, there's room to argue over which three are the victors. If we go to sound alone, the two meow meows definitely have a tie. So I can't tell you which one it is between the two. Moving on, a couple other honorable mentions was the Range 36 from Huxwrx. And Huxwrx, I mean, we know they're a big low back pressure company, and they nailed it in the low back pressure. Sound-wise, they did really very good on 300 Blackout, but it's just, you know, more of the low back pressure than the winner in sound, but it was in like the top 10 for sure. So to be in the top 10 and to be as low on back pressure as it was makes for a very noteworthy mention. If you were going to run a class all day, I could see the ODB being low back pressure and crazy quiet, and I can see the Huxwrx Range 36 being very, very, very low back pressure and quiet enough to run a course with hearing protection anyways. Some other honorable mentions, both of these high back pressure suppressors really did very good, and that's the Nomad XCI LT, whatever they call this thing, and this is the L configuration, and then the Wisper Pickle also did really incredibly well. So if we were talking bolt guns, both of these would be solid contenders because you're not so worried about the low back pressure concept. Size and overall performance, the self-additive work also did really very good, and then 9mm wise, this guy, like, I'm really very impressed by the B&T SQD9M. It does great on 9mm, and now we've proved that it actually really does also very good in 300 Blackout. It's just unfair that this got put head to head with one of the winners at the end. So this guy probably would have been like 4th or 5th place, maybe even 3rd place if we were to put it back into the stack as we would in a basketball tournament. So this guy really, really did very good. So if you want a 9mm 300 Blackout like champion, it's definitely the B&T SQD9M. It can definitely do 9mm at an impressive level, and apparently can do 300 Blackout Subsonic at a very impressive level as well. Guys, if you like this content, do me a huge favor. Make sure you hit that like, comment, subscribe button. All those things really do go well. There's a notification bell somewhere in the stack below me. That also really does help the channel when you tell YouTube that this is interesting and you want more of it. Any comments you throw in the comment section also really do a good job. Special shout out to Eric at East Valley Tactical. He's really supported a lot of these videos. It goes a long way if you want to buy some toys to check out his website and consider buying from him. And if you like this content, please do check out some of our other content about other calibers. Guys, stay safe, and we'll see you in the comments. Since I'm here, and I decided I wanted to throw the SIG SLH since it has the correct mount that's designed for SIG. So I took the whole handguard off so I could slide the hub off, and then I wanted to just run 2 rounds through this and then do a direct comparison with the winner of today, and that's the ODB. And really, this is just because I'm curious and I want to decide what's going to live on my gun. And the Cat ODB is probably going to be it, but let's see. That sounded really... ODB. Both sounded really good, but the ODB was a little bit quieter and a little bit deeper. Wanted to throw one more quick disclaimer out there. Somebody's gonna say, why didn't you include insert silencer here? So I have so many silencers, and I basically picked the ones that I thought would perform the best based on their historic performance. So there are some suppressors that I do have in 30 caliber and 36 caliber that I chose not to include, not because I don't like the company or the manufacturer, just because I didn't think they would perform well in this test. So I really chose the suppressors that I'm interested in seeing how they perform, and I wanted to take you along with the journey to share. So before you get mad at me for not including something, it might just be that I just didn't think it was going to do good. And then the other thing is I've got a handful more silencers on the way. So once I get them, I'll repeat this test probably again with a whole nother batch of silencers. But what I'll do is I'll take like the top 3 performers of this and then use them in the next videos to come. This way I don't have to repeat all these 30-some silencers again.